In March of 2021, notable quirked-up white boy Jerma985 did a stream where he uncovered mysterious artifacts from a long-forgotten past. Within the refuse was a fake card game called Grotto, a trading card game that does not exist. Throughout the year, by way of dozens of fan requests and Jerma's typical way of doing events, he went over the top as usual and announced one day that Grotto was going to become a real, fully fledged, playable game. The game was released on April 15th, 2023. It also has physical cards, booster packs, and all the accoutrements that you would expect in a TCG. It also has a really well put together tabletop simulator build that gives you full access to everything for entirely free. Grotto was never intended to be a lifestyle brand game like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh!, but it was entirely playable, and it's actually pretty fun. The mechanics are unique, it's full of bits that are funny if you're a Jerma diehard, but not obnoxious enough for non-Jerma fans to be completely out of the loop. The game is intuitive, and it's very pretty. But this isn't really a review of the game. Instead, I wanted to shed some light on some really strange happenings that have been going on with the game and its server for the last few days. Before I continue, I'd like to say that this video is not a hit piece on Jerma at all. He outsourced the game to a development team, as Jerma himself probably doesn't know that much about card game design or competitive community management. To my knowledge, he undertook budgeting and distribution while the development team handled the rules design and the community. Anything weird or shady that I bring up here is going to be directed towards actions taken by the development team and not by Jerma. So, as I've said before, Grotto wasn't intended to be a full-scale game that caught support across multiple sets or expansions. However, the community for the game had a pretty big, dedicated fan base in the beginning stages. As many as 200 active players were talking, playing, and trading amongst each other. And over time, as all things do, this started to die out, and only a few people were still left playing the real game. This whole time, there was an official Grotto Discord that anybody could join, and I myself was in there for quite some time. Unfortunately, the dev team was almost entirely dead silent for almost 2 years while the game was starting to die out, aside from a single community tournament, until December of 2025 when we got a new ping announcing further plans for an update to the game. This update ping would come with a survey that asked players about which aspect of the game they liked and which they thought needed a complete overhaul, as well as a one-sided poll that asked players if they wanted an overhauled game or a completely different game, even though that basically means the same thing. Then, the development team blocks and hides almost every single channel in the server and creates a new one for update discussions, where entirely new mechanics were presented. Normally, this wouldn't need to be given much attention. Rule changes and erratas are a super common sight in TCG development. But the way I see it, these are something else. The dev team presents new ideas for complete and total overhauls to the game, down to its core identity. Not just things like deck size or rebalancing, but for example, creating a new 1,000 card set where none of the cards have any theming or any art, and asking the player base to draw on them to create their own cards instead. Another presented idea was to remove all the card types and just make one type of card that does 3 different things, and to change the game into a Marvel Snap style micro game that only lasts a couple of turns until players ran out of their deck. Now, regardless of whether you like those ideas in theory or not, one big thing comes to mind here, and that it isn't Grotto Beasts. If you're making a new rule set from the ground up, making 1,000 new themeless, artless cards all available in a print and play format, what happens to the original Grotto game? And more importantly, do you have the okay from Jerma to take Grotto and make it a new game with none of the Jerma bits in it? I tried to ask that in the Discord. I brought up a lot of these potential hangups, and I'm looking for clarification here. I asked specifically, are you just making a new game? If not, is the old Grotto going to be defunct or not officially usable? Does Jerma know? I know the original game wasn't intended to be in a continuous thing, but like if there's Grotto and then there's the other blank cards only 1,000 card expansion, wouldn't people looking at the original get thrown off? The response I got from the lead developer was, as the game's rule designer, I say everyone here can do whatever they want with it. We may not necessarily be able to do everything with the IP of Grotto Physical cards would be an absolute no, and we will have to redesign the card borders, for example. This honestly just left me with more questions than answers. I might be blowing things out of proportion here, but to me this kind of looks like the lead developer going rogue and just wanting to make a new game while riding off of the IP. The everyone can do whatever they want with it part just makes it sound like the entire game is being shoved aside to make way for something different, and expecting the player base to just accept it and move on. But I especially wanted to know if Jerma was in the know about this. The game's official server is closed down to talk about a complete rules change, and anybody who joins in now's first impression is an incomplete one-channel long Discord server pitching incomplete mechanics and prototype card frames. Is anybody involved with the game aware that the developer is taking the game and turning it into something completely different here? I tried to ask a little bit more directly if Jerma is in the know of this happening, again, to a game whose IP he owns, and I still didn't get an answer. So I went to everyone else on the development team on the server, but either didn't get a response or was told that they were just coders or an artist or a modeler for the tabletop sim build, and they didn't have any answers or even knowledge that this was even happening. Eventually, one person on the team spoke up. Somebody part of the Grotto Beasts Pro League, a yearly tournament stream that is currently the largest recorded event where anybody can see this game in action. It was also the first one. We talked in Discord DMs, and I got the okay to talk about most of their interactions with the lead developer, who turns out to be the main and possibly only person pushing this update. According to them, they're very frustrated with this whole thing. After hosting the first Pro League, they were brought onto the team as the main balancing and feedback people. The effort that's put into that tournament cannot be understated, so it's good that they were all given a spot to provide what would probably be the most official feedback you could possibly hope for. Unfortunately, this update thing appears to be a whole saga. Before they were brought onto the team, a giant rules errata was stealth dropped onto the server without a lot of people knowing. Many cards were changed, which just so happened to be the ones that really performed well in the first Pro League. I would show you images of the changes, but again, the entire Discord has been entirely locked, except for the channel where new mechanics are pitched, so I can't show you. This also means that there's no official way to look at updated and errated cards, by the way. Anyway, the Pro League team assumed that this was just a coincidence, until this happened again. A day after the second annual Pro League finished, another stealth drop, another set of rules changes, another errata. Feeling frustrated, the Pro League people got onto a call with the lead developer. They asked directly if the Pro League was being used as a testing ground for new rule sets, and according to them, the lead dev dodged the question in favor of presenting a third set of erratas. This just coincides with the pattern that I described in the current iteration of the Discord channel. To quote them, "I feel like overall mine and my friend's opinions have been straight up ignored so far, despite him asking to provide us our opinions, and it's just really frustrating because we all talk about the game constantly looking for loopholes or new combos for decks, and we literally play every day online and in person, on top of creating content for it annually. So I thought our opinions might matter, but so far they haven't." Now, on one hand, I get it. I've made my own card game too. I've done balance changes and updates and erratas as well. The issue here, however, is twofold. First, Grotto Beasts was already physically released. People had their hands on it, and if you're using player matches as balancing, that needs to be done with a private group before the game releases. Erratas really should only be saved for things that break a game experience entirely. The other is that throughout every single one of these changes, they were stealthily dropped on the official Discord only, with the rest of the dev team not being able to give any input, the player base not giving their input, and Jerma, the owner of the IP, is seemingly completely unaware that this is happening at all. At least, I assume. I still haven't had a direct answer on if he gives the okays to these updates or not. Grotto Beasts is a really fun game, and its entire player base is very vocally opposed to these massive rules changes. If the game has to be updated, they've said that they wanted things like archetype support, a buff to the Grotto's type, but not an entirely new game. A game without anything that made it what it was. In my opinion, what this looks like to me is a dev trying to use the platform that was given to him by a big streamer, taking his intellectual property, his bits, and using Jerma's lack of knowledge in the TCG space to springboard basically whatever he wants on a new game, possibly using the already established fan base to see what is essentially something that he gets to claim ownership over. To me, this looks incredibly weird and shady. The Grotto Beast community is almost unanimously asking that if this is the direction the game is going to go, that it's not Grotto Beasts anymore, and it would be much better just being a new game. Every time that that's stated, all we get is more vague gestures towards a new rule set, or a new question about how bad this system that we all liked is bad and what needs to be remade. And I don't think that's cool at all. If anything in this video is wrong or out of pocket, please let me know and I'll address it, because I'm not trying to make a drama video here, but I do think it's important to get the information out there, because a game that I and a lot of people love, it might be torn completely down, and it might have repercussions for Jerma's image. The trailer for this game is still on YouTube, you could still find this Discord, and it has Jerma's face all over it. If people come in and see a bunch of blank cards with MS Paint prototype images on an empty Discord, they'll obviously have a poor reaction. If that was the first thing I saw, I would have called Grotto Beasts a scam. If anybody watching has any sort of connection to Jerma, I ask that you let him know what's going on here, because I think this is being hidden from him, and that's not great, because it is his IP and his game at the end of the day. I know it was a contract job for this team, but his name's on it. Anyway, thank you for watching.